Pinball news all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
45 degrees, partly cloudy at 7:20. Good evening, I'm Lane Bajardi, and here's what's happening. 2 killed, several more injured in a Bronx apartment building fire. The New York City Council taking up the issue of the effects of social media and screen time on kids. A Long Island restaurant manager gets a kidney donated by one of his customers. The Mondani administration working to redesign Linden Boulevard. Which borough has the most shade? Like trees that provide shade? There's new read on that. Yankees in Boston, Mets the Twins. AccuWeather says increasingly cloudy tonight with a little rain at times late, low 44. Cloudy tomorrow, occasional rain into midday, high 55. Winds News Time 7:21. Let's get you where you need to go with Greg Rice.
En route to the Holland Tunnel, you're on the Newark Bay Extension. Not because you have to, but because you're going to want to. The inbound Skyway, you're going to crash in the left lane atop the Hackensack River. So again, the Newark Bay Extension is the preferred option here. Out of lower Manhattan, the Holland's in pretty good shape. Outbound Lincoln's okay too. The inbound side of the Lincoln pretty good. Citybound George behaves to the upper and lower. The northbound side of the Deegan, you still have some brake lights getting past the Cross Bronx. The northbound west side is by far the best of it out of town. Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge, that's loaded up out of lower Manhattan. The Manhattan Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge, the Battery Tunnel, they are all going to fare far better. Through Queens, traffic's getting a bit worse here on the eastbound Long Island Expressway. It looks like we may have some trouble as you get out towards the Van Wyck, as the eastbound LIE is bunched up into the area from at least 108th Street. The eastbound Grand Central overall through Queens, yeah, it's a bit slow through Kew Gardens, but all in all, it's better than the Long Island Expressway. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins, 92.3 FM.
2 dead, nearly a dozen others injured, including 5 firefighters in the Belmont section of the Bronx. Hundreds of firefighters on the scene at East 187th Street between Belmont and Cumberland Avenues as fire ripped through a wood frame building with 6 apartments above a barbershop and deli. FDNY Chief of Fire Operations Kevin Woods.
When we hit the top floor, due to the amount of fire and the structural stability of that building, as you can see behind me, the roof has collapsed in a large portion of that building. A lot of the stairwell has collapsed as well. So we had to pull our firefighters out of the building, go to exterior operations.
Several rescues were made, but 2 people were killed. 2 suffered serious injuries. No word on the cause of that 5-alarm blaze. The New York City Council taking up the issue of the effects of screen time and social media on children.
When it comes to social media, kids have a freedom that lawmakers believe is hurting them.
How can we continue to let our kids be harmed by the ongoing use of social media?
Council Speaker Julie Menon says teens who use it are 3 times as likely to have anxiety and depression. She's supporting legislation to cap kids using social media at an hour a day. Parents would have the final say. What about the school cell phone ban? Councilmember Shaker Krishna.
No, the school cell phone ban is not enough. As a parent of young children, I am seeing every day kids talking about social media, hearing about social media.
Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
35 arrests made in a Long Island gang crackdown. Nassau County Police announcing the raids that impacted members of multiple gangs. Among the arrests, 4 women accused of gouging someone's eye out and a man accused of attempted murder. Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman says the gang crackdowns will continue.
We are going to come after you with every asset that we have. We will not tolerate lawlessness in our county.
Over the course of 5 days, police recovered 10 illegal handguns and drugs as they made those 35 arrests. Yet another member of Congress facing an ethics investigation is giving up a House seat.
Congresswoman Sheila Sherflewis McCormick is resigning. The Florida lawmaker is stepping down rather than be formally disciplined by the House as part of an ethics investigation into her use of campaign funds. Sherflewis McCormick says a House committee has denied her adequate time to prepare a defense. Members of the House Ethics Committee had been set to weigh what punishment to recommend after they found Sherflewis McCormick committed 25 violations of House rules and ethical standards. Sherflewis McCormick also faces federal criminal charges, accusing her of stealing $5 million in coronavirus disaster relief funds. She has denied any wrongdoing. Mike Hempen, Washington.
There was a close call between 2 passenger jets approaching Kennedy Airport Monday. The alert systems pilots get when they get too close to another plane. help them abort their landings before a catastrophe.
The American Airlines plane and the Air Canada plane are lining up to land at the same time on parallel runways. But for some reason, that American Airlines regional jet overshoots his pathway, if you will, and goes into the lane of that Air Canada jet. Those alarms worked, the system worked, and they were able to get out of the way and go back around. The air traffic controller says climb maintain 3,000 means go up to 3,000 feet, fly that runway heading, and then they loop them back around to land safely.
Correspondent Sam Sweeney, the two planes came within 350 feet of one another vertically, very close, and about 0.6 miles horizontally of one another. 45 degrees. We have now mostly cloudy skies, going down to 44 in Midtown. Holding steady here. Now Bloomberg Money Watch.
The company that owns a 53% stake in T-Mobile US is thinking about taking control of the rest. Sources tell Bloomberg Germany's Deutsche Telekom is considering combining with T-Mobile by creating a new firm that owns shares of both companies. Deutsche Telekom would make the move in large part because the bulk of its profits come from its stake in T-Mobile. Wall Street ended lower today, shortly before the president extended the Iran ceasefire, which could have reversed the losses. Dow down 293, NASDAQ fell 144, S&P down 45. I'm Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
1010 Wins.
I love that they're always there 24 hours a day.
It's my trusted news source.
It's not New York without them.
1010 Wins.
All news, all the time.
On 92.3 FM.
Join the movement to provide hot meals and stable housing for those in Brooklyn who need it most. Learn more at neighborstogether.org. Wins News Time, 7:30.
Good evening, I'm Mario Bosques. Leaving more than just a gratuity, a lifesaver kidney donation at a popular restaurant on Long Island.
I joke, I did it for the free amatriciana.
Suzanne Deegan says it all happened at her favorite restaurant in Glen Cove, La Bussola, where longtime manager David Geliashvili told everyone he needed a kidney transplant.
Something compelled me to say I'll get tested.
Deegan says she was a match, and 6 weeks out, she feels great.
It's one of the greatest things I've ever been able to do.
Geliashvili was on dialysis for 14 months.
I call her my angel.
The Northwell Health doctors who performed the surgery say patients who get living donor kidneys are more likely to live longer. Sophia Hall, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM on Long Island.
April is Donate Life Month. Wednesday News Time 7:31 is get you where you need to go. Let's check in right now with Greg Wright.
En route to the inbound Holland Tunnel, the Skyway still a mess because of an earlier crash. Also some traffic on northbound 1 and 9 getting away from Newark Airport. So the Newark Bay extension into the city, yeah, that's still worth every penny. Outbound Lincoln Tunnel is no more than about 10 minutes. Inbound Lincoln's fine. The outbound Holland behaves too for what it's worth. Citybound George, pretty good to the upper and lower. The Cross Bronx a bit bunched up from Jerome Avenue. Harlem River Drive, the ramp to the George is slow. Everything else behaves at this point. Brooklyn bound Brooklyn Bridge, still a bit bunched up out of the city. The Manhattan Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge, the Battery Tunnel, Brooklyn bound. They're all going to treat you better. In Queens, the westbound belt locked up from the JFK Expressway to Lefferts Boulevard. The Van Wyck stays slow south to Rockaway Boulevard, northbound to Hillside Avenue. Van Wyck's just bad all over the place with the long-term work. Cross Island, you got some southbound traffic to Hillside Avenue. The Clearview's better. And the eastbound Long Island Expressway, we're not done yet with this traffic through Main Street. The Grand Central, though, gets you home easier. Nassau, Southern State, sloppy east from Newbridge Road over to Wantagh Avenue, Sunrise Highway. Better idea. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check of the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist John Feerick.
Increasing clouds for tonight. We'll dip back into the low and mid-40s. So definitely a little bit on the chilly side. Need to bundle up. And there's going to be a bit of rain at times late tonight. And that rain will be with us tomorrow morning. Probably moves away about lunchtime. We'll have lingering clouds in the afternoon. The high 55. We'll turn out partly cloudy tomorrow night. The low 48. And then much warmer for Thursday. Sunshine mixing with some clouds all the way up to 72, but we'll cool down again on Friday. Clouds, some sun, the high 61. And it does look like we'll get some rain on Saturday with highs in the 50s. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist John Feerick on New York's weather station. 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
A Brooklyn Boulevard carries a grim description, the Boulevard of Death. Mayor Mamdani says he's out to change that.
It can take as long as 15 to 20 minutes to attempt to cross Linden Boulevard, according to Miss Jones, who has to deal with it every day.
I live right there on Dumont at the end of Linden, and there's a lot of children on that side, too. Sometimes they have a lot of accidents. cars are turning, a lot of stuff going on.
Mayor Mamdani is calling for a redesign of Linden Boulevard, which some have deemed the new boulevard of death.
How do we ensure that this isn't something that is becoming a normal in our city?
He says under the new plan, bus lanes will be off limits to passenger cars 24 hours a day, and thinks it'll discourage reckless driving and help speed up bus services, along with making it safer for the many people that have to cross this corridor each day. Mary Evelyn Buckley, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in East New York.
Trying to throw shade in a good way with summertime temps promising to be just around the corner. The mayor pointing out the shadiest places in the city to keep cool. Also naming the city's first ever urban forest plan, calling one borough the shadiest, aiming for a 30% tree canopy in the 5 boroughs by the year 2040. Now, as of 2041, the shadiest borough, Staten Island, the least shady, ties Queens and Brooklyn. Bears in Great Smoky Mountains National Park are claiming their territory one bite at a time. Visitors now banned after reports of bears chasing, biting people, at times even swiping backpacks. About 1,900 black bears live in Great Smoky Mountains National Park, a massive wildlife area. Big warnings going out: do not feed the bears. The city has opened up a new early childhood education center in Barham Hill, Brooklyn, including one of 7 previously vacant sites. Mayor Mamdani.
This part of District 15 is home to 2 NYCHA developments, Gowanus Houses and Wyckoff Gardens. And downtown Brooklyn has seen a much-needed growth of affordable and mixed-income housing over recent years. And yet the cost of childcare has stayed far higher than what low- to middle-income parents can afford.
From a press conference today, the center's open this fall. The overall plan adding 1,000 seats across the city for Universal 3K. A big title for a highly regarded educator.
Leon Smith teaches social studies and coaches freshman basketball at Haverford High School in Pennsylvania.
It's just such an honor to be able to represent teachers all over the country and really stand on the shoulders of so many others that have come before me.
CBS Morning surprised Smith with a visit by his childhood idol, Dr. J, Julius Erving.
Dr. J, he's the teacher here, Leon Smith.
Hey, Leon, how are you?
I'm doing so well.
Dr. J presented Smith with a signed basketball.
Michael Wallace. Going to be a Pokemon honeymoon thanks to a lucky find for a British couple.
37-year-old Andrew Brand decided to sell part of his vintage Pokemon collection to help pay for his upcoming wedding. He thought the cards might fetch a few $100s. Instead, they'll pay for the whole shebang. The 3 cards Brand decided to part with turned out to be rare, highly collectible, and in excellent condition. The hammer came down at $40,000, more than his year's salary as a classroom assistant. Brand says they might even have a honeymoon now.
Vicky Barker reporting.
The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes. We'll give you the world.
Good evening, 45 degrees at 7:40. I'm Mario Bosquez, and here is what's happening.
Rescued a civilian trapped at a window with no access to a fire escape.
The deadly 5-alarm fire in the Bronx claims 2 lives, firefighters injured amid a roof collapse. Chaos in the streets of Queens prompts citizens to take action over illegal car meetups and street takeovers. Chilling new episode on the Gilgo Beach killer, including an admission of killing 8 women in his own home. Looks like more people are getting the blues, and the numbers are showing it. Talk about breaking the ice. A Drake promotion in Canada goes viral. Hockey weather. Increasing clouds, little rain at times. Low 44. Tomorrow's high, cool 55 degrees. Wins News Time 7:41. Let's get you where you need to go. Here is Greg Rice.
Getting you home through Queens, the eastbound Long Island Expressway still a bit slow getting out through the Van Wyck. The Grand Central Parkway no longer perfect either, with some eastbound traffic here on the Grand Central from the LIE through the Kew Gardens interchange. It gets better once you get past the Van Wyck Expressway. On that Van Wyck, you got southbound brake lights from right around Queens Boulevard to Rockaway Boulevard, northbound heaviest to Hillside Avenue, and the westbound belt still a bit bunched up in front of Kennedy Airport. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Citybound side of the George is pretty good. The Cross Bronx a bit slow from Jerome. That's it. The Harlem River Drive, couple of minutes on the ramp. Everything else is fine. Lincoln behaves. The inbound Holland Skyway still messy because of an earlier crash. The inbound Newark Bay extension, much better idea. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Tragedy in the Bronx when a fast-moving fire killed 2 people today in an apartment building, 187th Street, Belmont. Several others, including some firefighters, were hurt amid a wall collapse.
This was a tough one for firefighters because it was all wood inside and the stairwell collapsed, so they had to fight the fire from outside. Daphne Sakavelis watched, or did her best to watch, through all the smoke.
They finally got it under control a little bit, and then the entire roof just started blazing.
Part of the roof also collapsed, and there is a risk of other parts of the building coming down. Yamalith Rivera is feeling for her parents' friends who live in the building.
They're very nice people, hardworking, and to see that they've lost everything, it's heartbreaking.
You can see the smoke for several blocks, and up close you could smell it. Many were wearing masks. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Belmont.
11 injuries reported, 2 serious in local hospitals, including 5 firefighters, amid several rescues, as you heard. No word yet on the cause of the investigation. That goes on. Police of the Bronx say a woman, 72, died after an out-of-control car crashes onto a bench. That happened this afternoon. The driver apparently losing control of the vehicle in the Co-op City section around 1:30 Bartow Avenue, Co-op City Boulevard. Investigators say it appears the driver, 55, experienced some type of medical episode. 2 people were on the bench at the time. The victim, who was pronounced dead at the scene, a man 35, minor injuries. The driver stayed at the scene in this ongoing investigation. In a courtroom here in the city, another chapter in the saga of disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein.
Jessica Mann is set to take the witness stand once again in the case against Harvey Weinstein. He's accused of raping her in a New York City hotel room weeks after meeting her, coaching and guiding her on her acting career. Prosecutors acknowledge the two had an ongoing subsequent relationship, but in this instance, he overpowered her in the hotel. The defense says the accuser was in it for her advantage, and following years of silence, came forward only when other women's claims against Weinstein were reported. Juliet Papa, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Weinstein, 73, who is now a prison inmate, has pleaded not guilty and denies ever having non-consensual sex. A chilling new episode of the Gilgo Beach killer, including an admission of killing 8 women, except for one in his own home.
Rex Heuermann's ex-wife on the new Peacock episode on the murder says she got to see the Gilgo Beach serial killer before he pled guilty in court.
Can you please tell me how many of these women did you kill? He said 8.
Was there any hesitation when he said 8?
No, he just told me the answer.
He admitted in court to killing 8 women.
He sat and told you he killed 8.
He said I wasn't home during all of them.
Were any of them killed in the house?
He said yes, they were killed in his room downstairs.
On June 17th, Heuermann is set to be sentenced to life in prison. Sophia Hall, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM on Long Island.
4th and final episode of Gilgo Beach serial killer House of Secrets is streaming on the streaming service today. Stretching out the ceasefire amid developments in the Iran war.
The president says Pakistani intermediaries have asked the U.S. to hold its attack against Iran until such time as, quote, their leader and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. Posting on social media, Trump also said he has directed the U.S. military to continue the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, where the U.S. will, quote, remain ready and able and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded one way or the other, unquote.
Linda Kenyon on the story. Talks had been scheduled in Pakistan, led by Vice President Vance, but Iran has not formally confirmed if it would be there. The ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran had been set to expire. A sobering assessment from a major human rights organization.
Amnesty International has published its grimmest ever annual review of human rights. It claims predators, its word, like Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and Benjamin Netanyahu, are bulldozing international law and suppressing internal dissent using violence and destruction for ends that benefit them, not the majority of their citizens, and certainly not the citizens of the world, whom international rules-based entities like the UN and WHO were founded to protect.
That report from Vicky Barker. Investigators in London say there have been 4 arrests in connection with a foiled suspected arson attack on a venue related to the Jewish community, saying several ambulances set on fire outside a synagogue. 8 arrests, 13 still in police custody. Looks like more people are getting the blues, pointing to the numbers.
19% of U.S. adults say they had depression or were being treated for it during the first quarter of this year, according to a new Gallup poll. That's up 9 percentage points since Gallup first polled the issue in 2015. The current rate of 19% projects to an estimated 51 million Americans suffering from depression.
And that report from correspondent Jim Krasula. No more flu shot requirements, says the Pentagon.
The Defense Secretary says service members should have medical autonomy. And he says the mandate that everyone in uniform receive an annual flu shot is overly broad and not rational. The rule now being scrapped dates to the 1950s. Pete Hegseth says yearly vaccines will remain an option for service members, but they'll no longer be mandatory. Medical experts warn without annual immunizations, an influenza outbreak in the ranks could mean more missed duty days and more hospitalizations.
Stephen Portnoy reporting. With inflation showing little sign of letting up, a growing number of people are taking on side hustles. In other words, extra work.
According to Side Hustle Nation, which provides support, job placement, and online training for moonlighters, 39% of working Americans have a second job, including 57% of Gen Z, the youngest members of the workforce. A survey of the company's clients finds that most like the freedom of an extra job, while more than a quarter need the money just to make ends meet.
And that report from Jim Ryan. Let's get you where you need to go. Here is Greg Rice.
You need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Inbound Holland, stay with the Newark Bay. The inbound Skyway is still sloppy right now because of an earlier crash into Tonelli Avenue. Outbound Holland's fine. Outbound Lincoln's not so bad. The inbound side of the Lincoln, pretty good ride. Citybound George behaves a couple of minutes out from the Cross Bronx and getting under the apartments to the upper level. That's the biggest mess. Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge, that's still pretty slow. Out of Lower Manhattan, the Manhattan Bridge and Williamsburg Bridge, they'll provide better rides. The westbound belt in Queens, and that provides a whole lot of traffic right now until you get past Lefferts Boulevard. Van Wyck, that long-term work leaves you sloppy to Rockaway Boulevard, and northbound getting up towards Hillside Avenue. A lot of traffic, a lot of construction in Connecticut either way between the state line and Cos Cob in either direction. Greg Rice, 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check of the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist John Feerick.
Increasing clouds for tonight. We'll see a little bit of rain at times later on, dipping back into the low and mid 40s. Then for tomorrow, cloudy, occasional rain during the morning. Certainly could slow things down for the morning commute. Rain moves away probably about midday, and then clouds try and break for a little bit of late day sun, but it's still on the cool side. The high just 55. Then partly cloudy tomorrow night down to 48. Beautiful on Thursday. Sunshine and some clouds up to 72. Probably the nicest day of the week weather-wise. Then clouds and sun for Friday. A little cooler again, high 61. And we'll get some rain in here on Saturday. And also weather meteorologist John Feerick on New York's weather station, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
A week from today, you'll be able to place your bets on live table games. Resorts World Casino Queens called a new job shot in the arm.
The Wheel of Fortune for Resorts World was set in motion in December when the state selected it for one of 3 downstate full-fledged gaming licenses. Tom Grash, who heads the Queens Chamber of Commerce, said the casino is already the state's biggest taxpayer.
Because of all the volume that they have, and having the table games will allow them to grow and prosper even more.
Especially when it comes to jobs.
They made a commitment to local hires, MWBE, for the building of what they're going to build over there.
The live table games brought 1,250 new jobs to Resorts World, and thousands more are expected as they expand to include a concert venue and hotel. Marla Diamond, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
The Tuesday opening pending the New York Gaming Commission's final testing set for this week. The other casinos still yet to open are Steve Cohen's Metropolitan Park in Queens, Bally's The Bronx. They're expected to open 2030. Now Bloomberg Money Watch.
Stocks in tobacco makers Philip Morris, British American, and Imperial Tobacco fell as much as 3% today, following a dramatic move that theoretically could someday end smoking in the UK. Both houses of UK's parliament have struck a deal forever banning sales of all smokes to anyone born after 2008. It now only needs the signature of the king. After Iran said it will not attend talks with the U.S., but before President Trump said he would extend his ceasefire with Iran, we got the closing bell on Wall Street with indexes lower. Dow fell 293, NASDAQ down 144, S&P down 45. Amanda Rodet, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
1010 Wins. I can get all my news while I drive.
I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen.
You know, I tune in about 5 or 6 times a day.
1010 Wins.
On 92.3 FM.
AccuWeather looks like this. A cool evening, increasing cloud, little rain here and there, late especially, low 44. Now tomorrow, clouds, occasional rain in the midday. Clouds will break for some sun later in the afternoon. High is cool, 55 tomorrow night. Overnight, low, partly cloudy, 48. Keep it here for the latest from AccuWeather.
WINS FM in HD1 New York. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
More people get their news from 1010 Wins and from any other radio station in the nation. John Davis, Service Aide, Sweet Tina Kakar, Editor's Desk. I'm Mario Bosquez.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
45 degrees, partly cloudy at 8 o'clock. Good evening, I'm Lane Bajardi, and here's what's happening. Firefighters race to save lives in a Bronx apartment building.
Stairs were collapsing beneath their feet. 2
people killed, 2 seriously injured in Belmont. A woman sitting on a Co-op City bench killed when a man loses control of his vehicle. The Harvey Weinstein rape retrial is underway in a Manhattan courtroom. President Trump extends the Iran ceasefire as the Iranians balk at new talks. New Yorkers are now just days away from playing table games at a casino in Queens. Yankees in Boston, Mets host the Twins. AccuWeather says increasingly cloudy tonight, a little rain at times late, low 44. Cloudy tomorrow with occasional rain into midday. Clouds break for some sun later in the afternoon, high 55. Winds news time 8:01. Let's get you where you need to go with Kelly Dillon.
We've got a mess on the West Side Highway tonight, traveling southbound into 96th Street with the stalled car in the right lane. The FDR Drive still moving well. In the Bronx, on the westbound Cross Bronx heading into the Sheridan, there was a broken down tractor trailer. Looks like that is now cleared up. The New England Thruway is very slow on the southbound side tonight. Into exit 17 in Mamaroneck with a crash wrapping up. If you want, the hutch is better. Here's what we see on Long Island's Big 3. Moving well in Nassau County on the LIE. No trouble to report along the northern or southern states on eastbound Sunrise Highway at Atlantic Ave in Hempstead. A crash here knocks out the right lane, so the southern state through that area much better. In Brooklyn tonight, the BQE stop-and-go traffic both ways into Atlantic Ave. Also delays westbound into the Williamsburg. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. A busy ride on the outbound Brooklyn Bridge. Picking up on the outbound Queensboro Bridge, upper and lower levels. The Queens Midtown Tunnel is looking better. And not too bad tonight either way across the Whitestone or Throgs Neck. Kelly Dillon, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
2 people killed in a Bronx apartment building fire this afternoon. Happened at East 187th Street in Belmont. Multiple collapses made it much more difficult for firefighters to put out the flames.
The smoke just wouldn't quit, shooting into the sky for hours over 187th Street as about 270 first responders relentlessly did their job.
A lot of smoke. Honestly, the first thing that, I smelled it.
Yamalith Rivera and many others were wearing masks.
There were firefighters who were like, you should, step back because it's a lot of smoke. Some of them did warn the little children they should not be in the area because of how bad, the air quality was.
Chief of Operations Kevin Woods.
When we hit the top floor, due to the amount of fire and the structural stability of that building, the roof has collapsed in a large portion of that building.
It became an external operation when the stairwell also